Hello, everyone. I'm Tamanna Mohanty, and welcome to a special episode on Fortune India. I am sure this week would have been great for all of you, as salaries would have been credited to your accounts, and now you're just one tap away from checking out to buy all the items that you have added to your cart for so long. And with all the seasonal sales around, it surely does not help but to make that big splurge. But our parents, our seniors, and even our financially aware or smart friends would tell us not to make that big splurge. Instead, you should save and invest would be their advice. For someone like me who has thought about investing but does not know where to start, or for some, it could be the financial jargons that would scare them off. One book did actually come handy to clear all those doubts, and that was Mango Millionaire. But today's episode is not about Mango Millionaire, a book that is fun and easy to understand about personal investing and financing. Rather, it is about the people who made the book the way it is. With me, I have two very well known names in the mutual fund space where they not only made portfolios but also perspectives. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Radhika Gupta and Niranjan Avasthi from Edelweiss Mutual Fund. Before we start discussing about the book, let us address first things first the name of the book, the title, Mango Millionaire. It's so unique, it's so different, it catches your attention right away. But at the same time, it is also fun and unexpected. What's the story behind the name?
So I'm glad it's fun. I'm glad it's unique. I mean, we were hoping those elements would come into the book. And frankly, after the book releasing, we had an intent of the title, but we're hearing so many more interpretations of the title, which is really fantastic. I think the origin was there's a movie where the word Love Aajkal, and we both like movies, where the word aam janta actually was used, mango people. And we thought, why not bring that idea of mango people to Mango Millionaire? People who don't necessarily want to become Warren Buffett or Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, with due respect in their life, spend all their time trading stocks, but just use their money and live a good life. Hence Mango Millionaire.
That's a beautiful answer, actually. When I read the book, what got my attention is Bollywood. Like you mentioned, your love for movies. There's so many references to so many iconic films, like you name it, Diwar. What got you to think about writing the book in such a manner which is relatable? Because is this a way to fill the gap, with other personal finance content that's available? They tend to be dry, they tend to be filled with financial jargon. So, are you trying to fill a gap by writing the book, or your approach to writing the book in this manner?
So basically, India made two things work really well. One is cricket, one is Bollywood. We chose the later one because we both love movies, and you can connect. And Bollywood actually reaches to each and every corner of the India. It reaches India as well as Bharat, and most conversation that we usually have had with investors, our relatives, and friends, they don't need to listen to jargon. They don't understand that. We want to simplify. We wanted to simplify stuff, and what a better way than Bollywood. So that's where I think so. We thought Bollywood would be best. Cricket is good, but it's overdone. Sports is overdone. So we thought let's take this unusual route.
If I can also say this is, with no offense, I mean, I'm sure everyone loves cricket. I'm not a huge cricket fan before people troll me. But I also think, well, cricket is amazing. It appeals to one section of India. And we really tried to make this book something that would appeal to men and women equally, sports fans and not sports fans. So the examples are movies, but they're also food. And I don't know anybody in India who doesn't like food. And they're also gym and health. So we really tried to make it wide and encompassing. And I think the hardest part of finance, as Niranjan said, is to do two things. One is to make it simple, because nobody really understands what asset allocation is, but they understand what a thali is. I mean, just asset allocation thali. The second is to make it fun, because finally your book has to be read, and it will be read if it's not a scheme offer document, with no offense to a scheme offer document. It does what it's supposed to, but it's not supposed to be a legal note or a textbook. It has to be fun, and yet it has to be simple. Then someone might read it.
Makes sense. I mean, you of course need to bring in that relatability aspect to get a better readership, of course. While at it, you, of course, use a lot of Bollywood references. At the same time, there were a lot of personal anecdotes. While thinking about writing the book, how did you approach the topics that you would include in this book? And what were the topics that you unfortunately had to leave out? What was that aha moment and the oh no moment while writing it?
I think, and I'm sure Niranjan will add, I think the real discussion we had is who are we writing this book for? And then that decides what you include and what you don't include. Now, there are lots of books, in my view, Stock Market Wizards, they're just really smart books written by global authors and Indian authors for smart people who understand investing. This was not that. This was for the aam janta. This is for people like my mother who are super educated but are just scared to approach finance because they think it's complicated. So we were very clear it's for the aam janta. And hence, and we debated this back and forth. In fact, I think we spent the most time on the structure of this book. How we are going to do this three-part structure, section 1, section 2, section 3, and what we will keep and what we will not. He probably has read every or seen every personal finance book in India and overseas. I've seen quite a few of them. And Niranjan excluded a lot of stuff that was complicated.
Absolutely. In fact, in the book, we have added a disclaimer in the introduction itself that what to expect from this book and what this book is not. This book is not if you're looking to learn what is F&O investing. This book is not for you if you're learning how to pick a stock. It's not for that. It's basically for beginners, and 9 out of 10 investors or wannabe investors in India are beginners.
Yes. So you mentioned about debating to and fro about the structure of the book. Were there any disagreements on a story, an anecdote, or even to approach the topic the way you would want to versus the way you would want to?
Interesting question, but
I don't know.
So.
I guess we both bring slightly, I agree with him. I don't think there were that many disagreements. We are both clear we've worked together for now 7-8 years. And we've not killed each other in the process. So I think we're well aware of each other's strengths and what each of us can bring to the table. And this is the first book I've written with a co-author, right? It's a unique chemistry and process. But I actually think it worked quite seamlessly. And, I mean, even at Edelweiss Mutual Fund, we have this culture of debate and discussing. And I think great ideas come when you bash. So I'm sure he bashed some ideas that were mine, and I bashed some ideas that were his. But I think it's all for the better of the book.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as Radhika said, initially we spent a lot of time on structuring and creating the outline. I think so. There were a lot of debates and a lot of discussion, I would say, during that moment. After that, it was very seamless. It was very, very seamless, let me tell you.
It's good to know that it was a seamless process, and good to hear from you that you haven't killed each other.
No, we haven't killed each other so far.
Moving on with the book, of course, it must have gotten very good positive feedback. But what is that one unusual feedback that, has been ingrained in your brain?
So for me, and again, I'm sure Niranjan will have a view, the thing that has surprised me the most and educated me the most is this feedback that this book is not scary. It doesn't talk down to you. And especially from young investors, we criticize Gen Z a lot. But a lot of my Gen Z feedback that we're getting is we don't want something that talks down to us. The finance industry often sells fear, which is something I had actually never seen that way, despite being part of this industry for so many years. So it's not scary. It's not talking down to us. It's saying it's okay to make mistakes. And it's like having and I've heard this phrase so many times, I don't know why. It's like having a conversation on money over a cup of tea. And I don't know if that's what we were going for. So that was the most surprising one for me. I don't know.
I think so. This was quite unusual. One of my friends within the industry, he called me and he said, nice book I've read. And now I'm gifting this to my 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, we never thought of that as a TG. But I think somewhere we were successful to de-jargonize money and financial planning so that at least a 11-year-old child can attempt to read that and that was quite unusual and very sweetly surprising for us.
And my mom read the whole book. Now. She's finished the book. She's actually finished the whole book. And she started getting involved in the finance conversations at home, which I'm not sure the others are very happy about. But that's my victory. She read the book.
Wow.
That's actually very good to get other people, especially your family, to get to read your books, right? You mentioned about how this book, especially, it caters to a young investor, but also it also caters to public that might be willing to start their investing journey. But you have been in this business for so long, right? And you surely must have seen a change in demographics when it comes to the whole behavior towards investing. Has the process of investing in mutual funds or just personal finance in general, has it gotten more democratized per se, or is it just like a tool that is utilized by the urban or the elite? Are you seeing that there has finally been some sort of penetration in the tier 2, tier 3 cities as well?
I think, I mean, if you hadn't used the word democratized, I would have used the word, because I think there is huge democratization happening. Of course, we can complain that there are only 5.5 crore investors and there is a long way to go. But whether it is gender, so if you look at women investors have seen tremendous growth. If you look at tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 India, we were a company that was present in 5 branches. We're present in 55, 60. I'm sure we'll be present in 100 soon. And both of us travel. I think both of us were on flights yesterday, which is why we look groggy. But both of us travel to tier 2 and tier 3 India. And the level of aspiration is no different than South Mumbai and Delhi. And even socio-economically, every one of the women that works as part of my house staff or the drivers, they think about starting an SIP. So I think aspiration at a meta level has become democratized. Access is a lot more easily available. And hence everyone wants to be a part of this story. Like my driver told me, he's like, Madam, आपकी वो नई किताब आई है, मुझे भी देना, but जब हिंदी में आए तो देना.
Yeah. That's an interesting take. Niranjan, this question's for you. I mean, Independence Day is around the corner. And of course, the one thing that a lot of people in our country do suffer is from financial independence, right? So with all the availability of apps, of course, the accessibility has increased towards investing. But do you think that there is a lapse in terms of awareness or education for the new investor who can easily register on the app, but what to do next? Of course, there are videos that tell the person how to do it, but end of the day, education and awareness matter. So what do you think? How can education and awareness about personal finance, mutual funds, investing should work out?
See, I have a very different take on this. After COVID, we have seen a lot of youngsters, downloading an app and starting to invest. And I think so it's good, because the best learning comes from your own experiences. How much ever you read books, until and unless you make a profit or make a loss, you don't learn. It is good that these people are starting young. They are playing with small amount. They are losing that amount. It's okay. But it should not happen that they create huge amount of wealth and then go to trading and then lose out tens and 20s of lakhs. They're starting slow. I think so. This is also a good part of awareness. They are getting aware with experience. Apart from that, I think so mutual fund industry, along with SEBI, even insurance, they're doing a great job in terms of investor education. And as Radhika mentioned, even the smallest town today, they know that mutual fund sahi hai. They know there is something called SIP. Now, the only thing is, as our per capita income increases in India, I think so all this will come into mainstream, and we will see huge amount of investors actually investing.
That's a very interesting take. And just for my curiosity's sake, when you talk about how people are interested in mutual fund and mutual funds sahi hai, and there's so many different products that are available in the mutual fund space itself, you also have something called as a choti SIP.
Yeah.
Could you shed light? I mean, is this more of a habit developing product, or do you see people actually, even if it's not for major profit margins or capital gains, what is the sort of investor behavior you see in this sort of SIP product?
So I think, look, the average industry ticket size on SIP is probably 3,000-4,000 rupees. Choti SIP is at 250 rupees. It's a regulatory initiative. And these things are welcome. Actually, a lot of us offer SIPs even at 100 rupee
Yes.
ticket size. And I always tell investors that there are two amazing things about mutual fund. One is it's one of the few things in India that treats someone who invests 100 rupees and 100 crores the same way. And we have to by law, and we do it. And secondly, it's only a financial product in India where you can get your money back in 2 days, which is, it's not marketed enough. So I think opening up investing to more and more people at smaller ticket sizes is important. I think we've already tread that journey. Choti SIP, of course, makes the cost for AMC a lot more bearable. But I think our focus, as Niranjan was saying, is so many investors are coming. Are they coming the right way? Are they doing the right things? In this whole gamut of mutual fund products, are they buying what is right for them so that they stay? Our critical focus is to get investors and also to keep investors.
Yeah. Understood. In fact, the advent of apps and all, even MFDs into the remotest of the location, they are trying their best. In fact, we have seen most people who have broken accounts, they've also started mutual fund via ETFs.
Yeah.
So they have some flavor of it. I think so they will slowly, steadily come more into MFs. In fact, I was speaking to a broker friend, and he's saying their challenge now is people come to them with 1 lakh, 2 lakh. As soon as they cross that 2-3 lakh threshold, they move to mutual funds. So people are also aware that 1-2 lakh amount hai to usse risk lo, usse upar hai to let's go to a safer or probably a much more proven track record product. So I think so things are changing.
That's a positive outlook to look
Yeah,
at.
absolutely.
You mentioned that it's important for investors to know what is right for them, what's the right product for them, where to invest. When they look out to search for advice, there's no dearth of influencers, financial bros in my language. There are a lot of fin bros online who give in a lot of advice. What is your opinion on them? Honest to God opinion on them.
Okay. So I don't think either of us has a problem with social media, okay? Both of us are very active on social media. Our brand is probably the most followed in its category on social media. So we think social media can be a force of good. And the fact is, a lot of young people spend 50-60% of their time on social media. So we like social media. I'm sure I can speak for both of us on this. I do have a personal belief, however, that money management is a responsible business. And if anyone is using social media to make clickbait content, मुझे थोड़ा सा problem है. Just think about the message you're sending out. If you're sending out the wrong message on health, on wealth, it's just not a good thing. And one of the honest things about the book is that, so I was talking to someone, reasonably prominent person, very smart person, and in all this day and age of awareness, influencers, etc., this is what the person told me. I said, which product do I invest in? Equity, mutual fund, or SIP? Despite all this awareness and all this influencing, the person thought equity, mutual fund, and SIP were 3 different individual products. And I promise that was a very smart person. And then I tried to simplify it. And I said, think of mutual fund as a food court where there are different dishes. Think of equity as one of those dishes or cuisines. And think of SIP as buying a monthly meal plan. So you can do all 3. There's no choice. So I think there's a lot of noise out there.
Yes.
There's a lot of content out there. Unfortunately, there's not as much of a structured cookbook that teaches you how to do this.
So while influencers also have done a great job in terms of awareness, the problem with content on social media per se is it is on the extreme. It is either extreme greed, selling high returns, or it's extreme, pessimistic or, selling fear. There's nothing in middle. There's nothing in between. And I think so the responsible way to make people aware about is somewhere in the middle. You need to talk about returns also, you need to talk about risk as well. Make them understand both sides of the coin. I think so that is something which I would call good influencing or a good influencer doing his job.
I also think, to add to what he said, people are kind of jumping the gun. So there's a lot of content on how to pick a stock.
Absolutely.
Which are the best performing mutual
Yeah.
funds. 3 साल में पैसा double कैसे करो? But there is very little content on, is risk good? Is risk bad? How much risk should I take?
Should I take,
What
yes.
is the kind of risk? So we actually, I mean, in the book we talk about risk akin to an amusement park. And people go to amusement parks, some to ride the roller coasters and some to ride the carousels. And it's okay, as long as you don't throw up and as long as you don't get bored, you've probably got the right mix. So I just think there's not a lot of foundational content. It's like a lot of people are giving swimming lessons, but nobody wants to teach anyone breathing exercises.
In fact, in the book, I just realized mutual fund is 13th chapter.
Yeah.
How to pick a mutual fund is probably, once you read, half of the book.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
this is
not
from
the
people
starting.
whose job is to market mutual funds.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's chapter 13. I didn't realize it's chapter 13.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just not people from the mutual funds. You are also experienced in actually teaching the foundation ground. I mean, you gave a very sound advice as to how influencers could actually teach their viewers how to start investing instead of jumping the gun, like you said. But what would be your advice to, people who watch such content? How can they channelize that noise out and also finally learn the foundations or the basics of investing?
So first, read the book.
Yeah, that's a good plug.
That will help. Also understand, start small. A lot of people focus on starting early and starting to pick the right fund. That's probably a stage much later on. Start small. Check your emotional balance, because it is very important if you are investing in probably an equity product to learn how to keep emotional balance, and that comes with experience. So start small, start with maybe passive funds, pick 1 or 2 funds. The other way, the best way I would say to start is get an MFD or an advisor by your side. You can always learn. So you go to school, you have a teacher and then you learn, or you can learn on YouTube as well. There is a difference, right? So start with an advisor, start with MFD, start your journey, start learn that process of learning. I think so that's best way for most investors to start.
That's actually a very good advice. I mean, right now I feel that if chapters based on how to invest, how taxes are done were taught in 9th and 10th, then we would have done.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have hated math back then, but we would have been
absolutely.
we would have been more sound in terms of making financial decisions. I mean, let's hope that the current generation or the upcoming generation, no matter how much they hate it, they'll at least learn on the longer run. For new investors, when they think about mutual fund, the first thing that they would do is to check out what's happening in the markets, what's going on in the news. And for a new investor, the current, let's say, the current geopolitical situation with Trump tariffs making the news every day, it's our headlines on a daily basis now. The new investor would actually be, demoralized. They would be demotivated to invest in the first place, or whatever they have learned from the book or from the internet, it would demotivate them. What would be your advice to such people who are shivering before they start investing?
I think people are obsessed with the news. And frankly, Mr. Trump probably doesn't know what he's going to tweet that night. So you and I, or anyone trying to forecast it, is not particularly wise. And I think people forget that the news does its job because it's reporting what's happening in the short term. But you as an investor are probably not investing for 3 months, right? Or 3 weeks or a week. You're investing for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And I think in all this noise, we forget, it's very important to have an anchor in everything in life. And I think goals are a very powerful anchor in investing. One of the reasons, I talk about children's investing, as I tell people to keep a separate portfolio for their kid, is not that there's any special tax advantage or anything, but then that becomes a goal. And you're anchored to that goal, and that portfolio now is for my son's education in 15 years. Then regardless of what Trump says, I promise you're not going to touch that portfolio. Absolutely. So having this solid set of anchor, which has to come from your goals. I think you should name your folios after individual goals, will actually make you a much more stable investor, a much more long-term investor, and then you just digest the news.
You want to add something to that,
So,
Niranjan?
I read this beautiful article and it said there's a reason why a car has a larger windshield and a smaller rear mirror. News is actually that rear mirror. If in investing, you have to look at the windshield, look at a larger picture. And I think so the best way for many investors is to attach goals to their investment. Check where you are in that journey rather than checking where you are in the market, what's happening in the market. But of course, it comes at a later stage. It's probably a superpower an investor can get of cutting all the noise and being calm. It comes with experience, honestly.
And honestly, for young investors, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but everything you do in investing is passive income, right?
Yes.
And your primary source of wealth, if you're 25 years old, is not going to be anything in this book or anything done by a mutual fund because you don't have capital. Your primary source of wealth is going to be your talent. So spend the excitement. Like someone was telling me, you're making investing sound very boring. And I was like, yes, it should be boring. It's your passive income. Your profession should be exciting. Your family life should be exciting. This should be simple and boring. Because really, I think today, for both of us, even today, I think I'm going to create more wealth from my profession than I am from investing. And I'm 40. At 20, that was definitely the case.
Got it. That's actually a very sound advice when you mentioned about how young investors of my age should be investing more on ourselves and look at investing as a passive income mode. Of course, when you talk about age groups, how a 20 to 30-year-old would invest versus how a 30 to 40 versus 40 to 50 and so on and so forth. You have mentioned it in the book also as to how that percentage work. Could you elaborate a little bit more on how people, especially for viewers who have not read the book, could you explain it to them as to how they could create a basket of investing, even if it's the basics?
Right. So first of all, we've talked about savings because a lot of people stress a lot on how much to save.
Yeah.
And Radhika and I, we have always believed that initially when you're in your early 30s or maybe in 20s also, you have a lot of things to spend on, right? You have to enjoy life. So don't take stress of saving every penny that you earn. Maybe start with 10%. As you move to maybe 30s or late 30s, try to save at least 30% of your income. And then when you are probably at the peak of your earning cycle in 40s, you can go up to 50% and beyond. So saving is, 10, 30, 50 framework is what we have said. Out of that, whatever amount you don't need for next 3 years, 5 years can go to investing. Yeah. So in your 20s, if you are starting and you want to invest for maybe 5 years, 10 years, that amount can go into investing and equity. A lot of that savings actually you need in next 2-3 years, and that should not be invested. Honestly, it's a very contrarian advice, but that should not be invested. That should be saved.
Yeah.
There are mutual funds, not only equity mutual fund. There are arbitrage fund. There are equity savings fund, which are good for short-term investing. Select that. So in fact, we have given a very clear framework as to if you are investing for 3 years, what is that you can expect, where you should invest. 5 years, 10 years, beyond 10 years. It's a very simple framework that we have. For most people, 9 out of 10, that framework would work.
Yeah, and we've tried to, I have a contra view to, I do agree with Niranjan about saving depends on the age and life stage. But I think risk appetite does not depend on how old you are.
Absolutely.
And hence we've used this whole idea of goal and time, because I've met 80-year-olds, and my father is 75. He's a micro cap investor. He has far more risk appetite than I do because he has a pension, he has a paid up home, his kids are doing well, his wife is working. So quite frankly, he's chilling. Now, I have various responsibilities. My husband works in financial services. We are a high-risk couple, so we think differently. So we've actually tried to, I think the genesis of all this is personal finance is personal at core.
Yes.
And while your savings ability will depend on your age, your investment profile really depends on what your goals are. Do you have dependent parents? Do you have home loans to pay? Are you inheriting property, in which case you may not never need to spend on property? That makes life a lot easier. So everybody has a different story here.
You mentioned about how investing works out. It's very personal by the
Yeah.
end of the day. One might just look at mutual funds, one might just look at stocks, right? And the whole end goal of a person is to be aspirational. They want to fulfill certain dreams that they have, right? As of now, they might just be looking at earning capital gains. But then on the longer run, they would really want to buy a house for themselves.
Right.
And again, this is something that I've mentioned in the book where
Yeah.
owning versus rent, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think, the current generation is fitting into the whole idea of owning a house? I mean, it's an emotional decision, of course, but how far are we to actually own a house? How far I am to actually own a house in
Oh,
today's
God.
day and age?
Firstly, it sounds like neither me or Niranjan are the current generation. So it seems like we've really gotten old. I mean, look, my take on this is home ownership, primary home ownership, because primary home ownership is very different from secondary.
Yes.
Secondary is an investment
It's an
decision.
investment decision.
But I think primary home ownership, in my view, is extremely personal. I know very successful fund managers who don't buy a home and who rent without
Yes.
taking names because they do the simple Excel math that the rental yield today is less than the FD rate in the country, which is actually not incorrect math.
Yeah, it's a
But then
legitimate math.
some of us don't want to live life in a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
I can do that math, but I've actually spent a reasonable amount of money on a home because, having my son grow up in his own house and doing my own place and having my own walk, all this stuff matters to me. So I think it's a personal decision. In fact, in the book, we've told the story, right, Niranjan,
absolutely.
of two people just debating the pros and cons of that decision. And if you indeed choose to buy a house, it is a compromise. It is a sacrifice because that money is going into EMIs. I think we've actually told this story.
In fact, owning a house, especially in India, is not an option. The option is when you want to own it, when you can afford it. So we have actually talked about affordability of, whether you can buy it, and also depends on your lifestyle. Someone who is moving jobs, hopping cities, probably it's not the right time to get into a house. And in fact, I've seen people who've bought a house in Noida, staying in Bangalore.
Yeah.
And the rental yield is just 2-3%. So while it is their primary house, but they are not living, so it becomes an investment for them because then they are trying to buy a house where they are living. They've been living in Bangalore for maybe 10 years or so. So owning a house at the right stage of your life, stability of your job becomes very, very critical. Else, and buying a house is not like buying a car because once you buy a house, you're committed to that loan for next 10 years, 15 years. It's a very tough decision. If you are confused, it is always better to postpone it to some years. Try to live on rent. But as Radhika mentioned, end of the day, housing, whether to rent or buy, is not just an Excel spreadsheet decision. It is a very, very emotional decision.
But I like the point he made, right? If you are living in Bangalore and you have a house in Delhi, suddenly your emotional decision has become an investment decision. And then actually you should evaluate that investment, that house from the lens of investment. So when you're ready to make that commitment is extremely important in my view. For instance, when I was an entrepreneur, struggling, fledgling entrepreneur, the last thing I wanted to do was buy a house. And in India, there is this psychology के जब तक शादी नहीं हुई, घर नहीं खरीदा, बच्चे नहीं हुए, तुम settle नहीं हुए life में. And I think you should not rush yourself to settle into whatever format society wants you to. You should settle when you truly want to settle.
Got it. That's actually a very good advice. I'm going to keep that in mind. So, before we move on to the next segment, last question in here is, you surely have seen a lot of change in behavior in investing in mutual funds itself. There's a huge growth rate, right? I mean, it's grown 7 times in the last 10 years, as per a report I was reading yesterday. Could you, draw some insights on how this growth was fueled? Was it the access? Was it awareness? Or was it the returns that such, investing instruments gave? What drove this growth?
But my take is it's just a damn good product. And I'll tell you this from a personal lens. So I had joined Edelweiss Group and I had sold an alternatives business. And that was in 2000, I think, no, that was in 2000, yeah, 14. And by then, I think 2 years before that, I had started investing in mutual funds personally. I'd come back to India. I didn't have the capital at that point to be an HNI and do all this fancy stuff. So I had started doing mutual funds well before I had gotten into the mutual fund industry. By 2015-16, I was personally convinced that I should join the mutual fund industry as a career. And so I was like, make me a mutual fund CEO, make me a mutual fund CEO. And the only reason for that, I mean, there was no mutual fund sahi hai, and I didn't know anything about this. I was like, this is a damn good consumer product. If I am enjoying this product so much as a consumer and per capita income is going to rise, this structure has to take off. And I think everything that has happened on top of it, digitization, access, MF sahi hai, is nice, it's icing. But the cake is the fact that it's a good product for the consumer. And if you have something that's a good product for the consumer, regulated well, priced right, it should do well.
Yeah. And I think so awareness also, like mutual fund sahi hai. I mean, everyone, even who's not investing in mutual fund has heard that.
Yeah.
So as an industry, I think so we've done a good job. Amphi has done a great job. The whole story of financialization also is helping, because once your basic needs, roti, kapda, makan, is taken care of, you start investing. And Indians typically are very good savers, right? Traditionally, we have been good savers. हमको वही सिखाया गया कि saving करना है. Now I think so it's time when these savers are actually turning on to become investors. So it's a very good virtuous cycle that we are into. I hope it continues.
Great. And what would be the outlook? What it's a question that us as journalists will always ask. What would be the outlook for so and so in so and so time? So what would be the outlook when it comes to personal finance, investing, and of course mutual funds, because that's your main game? What do you see changing, or do you see not changing? Have we reached a plateau when it comes to that growth?
No, I think we're seeing drops. We're not seeing rains. We're not seeing floods. I think this is just droplets of mutual fund energy. I mean, there are many numbers one can quote, but I think there are two numerical outlooks that would be very special to me. One is more realistic and one is aspirational. We have a 27,000 crore SIP book today, and I know journalists are obsessed with it. I hope by the end of the decade we near closer to 1 lakh crore a month. It's aspirational, but it's amazing. The second is a much more long-term penetration objective. We are talking about Viksit Bharat 2047. I hope we see 70-75 crore Indians actually investing in mutual funds. That would really mean success.
Ranjan, do you have to add anything to
So
that?
I think so. See, I joined mutual fund industry way back, I think 2006-07. Number of investors, I believe, were less than 1 million.
Oh, wow.
AUM was less than 1.5 lakh crore. And from there, I think so. I mean, my answer would be obviously biased, because I've already seen this growth and we are still scratching the surface. It's just 5 crore Indians investing in mutual funds. There's huge runway to go, huge runway.
That's a great answer. Moving on to the final segment, because you made the book so fun, I thought that it would be great to end the session on a light note, on a fun note.
Okay.
And since it's all about Bollywood and reference,
You're going to ask us movie questions, okay?
I would do a rapid fire round.
Okay, good. Do we get to compete and do we get hampers or no? No.
You could compete and you could win the fight and the debates that you had over the book. So one will be finally settling all the bills then.
Okay, fine.
First question. A book other than yours, new investors should read.
I mean, I think in India, Monica's book, Let's Talk Money, has been a good book. I think globally, Nudge has been a very good book. They're simple.
Yeah. I think so. For evolved investors, psychology of money is good, because as I said, in long run, behavior is very, very important in investing, and I really like that book by Morgan Housel.
The biggest money mistake you made?
Thinking that because I'm 25, I have a lot of risk appetite, following those age and risk rules.
Niranjan?
I did early in my career. I started my career into broking, so traded a lot of F&O options.
I didn't know that.
2006-7, and I burned my finger, and that's where I say, it's good when you have just few thousand rupees and you burn it. You learn your lessons at much lower cost, lower fees, I would say.
That's
I
a
didn't know
good
you traded
answer.
F&O. I learned something today.
If SIP was a person, how would you describe him or her?
SIP was a person like your friendly neighborhood uncle who's always there to help, very stable, very solid, very boring, but just reliable.
For me, SIP is a bro.
It's a bro,
Always there for you.
always there.
And if you had to describe SIP as a movie character,
For me, it's SRK. I'm a great fan of SRK,
You're-
and
you're-
he's a Badshah. So SIP, I would say Badshah of mutual fund.
I
Sorry, Radhika,
Yeah, you stole my answer.
stole your
I think
answer.
the hero or heroine's best friend. You know that like circuit in Munna
Yes.
Bhai, that kind of character who's like always there
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
side of the side,
Yes,
or
yes.
like Jai Viru, like your best friend,
Vesa.
like circuit.
Yeah.
Circuit.
that's also a very good answer.
Circuit.
Warren Buffett or Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who's your spirit animal?
Of course, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and Warren Buffett both. Because both teaches you a very different style of investing. And if you recollect, the great investor that he was, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, he said initially you need a lot of luck to make money. On the other side, Warren Buffett teaches us patience. So both are important to create wealth in equity markets.
Let me be contra. Since this is a book about Aam Janta, let me pick an Aam person. I think the great Indian Nani or Dadi who managed homes and taught us savings and never got the love that Buffett, Jhunjhunwala or any of these famous people did.
Absolutely.
So the Aam Aurat.
That's a great answer because I feel that women of the house are actually the first financial
Yep, CFO of the
guides.
home.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's our
CFO.
moms and
Yeah,
our grandmoms, right? One financial myth you really wish would disappear.
Ooh, there are lots, but that you need a lot of money to start investing. He's talked about this, but start small. And that 1 year return is a good indicator of anything. It's a horrible indicator. Just ignore it, trash it.
I think so. The biggest myth, there are two in fact. One is mutual fund is just equity,
Yeah.
and equity is to make wealth quickly. These are two biggest myths I always keep hearing from people.
If investing was a movie, what would be its title?
Investing was a movie. What would be its title? Probably Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, because it, it has its ups and downs, but at the end it's a blockbuster, right?
Yeah.
It's a family blockbuster, and it's for the family.
It's a good one. Niranjan?
I hope Karan Johar is happy.
I hope he sees the video and then actually calls you up and says, good one.
Yeah.
I would say कुछ कुछ होता है,
Oh,
because money से बहुत कुछ नहीं, but कुछ कुछ होता है.
I hope Karan Johar is happy again. Please promote the book, guys.
SRK as well.
that's the two good answers. Given to the current market situation right now, what would be the emoji that you would use to represent it?
That that emoji with like the clouds and like things bursting.
Yes, yes.
Because every day you wake up and something has happened at night in some other part of the world
Yeah.
on X, and you're like, "Aaj kya hone wala hai?" So currently it's like that.
Yeah, I think so. The confused one, because a lot of news and all, and in fact, after last 5 years, people have hardly seen any negative returns on 1 year basis, and which we are seeing today. So I'm sure a lot of them would be confused out there.
One last question before we wind up. What would be that one advice that you are ready to tattoo on your arm to show around people and say that
Mutual fund sahi hai, nothing else.
Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, you stole my answer. I think of late, and I've been reading a bunch of stuff. So outside of mutual fund sahi hai, don't be in a hurry, guys. Everyone seems to be in a hurry. To build companies, to earn returns, to check portfolios. Like, you asked me about the emoji. The actual emoji should be the zzz emoji. Go to sleep. So I would like tattoo a zzz emoji. Like, relax. Go to sleep. Don't be in a hurry. Chill.
They're actually very good answers to all the questions. I mean, I personally cannot pick my favorite or the winner, so we can take this
A
outside
tie,
and decide.
like
I
the
think
India-England match or the
That's
series.
like a very
series.
polite journalist thing to do. It's great.
Okay.
No, but it was great talking to you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time. And it was a great conversation with you both. Thank you so much for your valuable insights on investing and personal finance. And I hope to see you soon again. I hope to see another Mango Millionaire probably.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we'll do with it.
That's good to know. So here we are at the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode. Let me know who you want to see next as our guests in Fortune India. Thank you so much.